the soldier-made bootwax hack from World War II that turned leather into battlefield armour. If you've spent enough time digging through real soldier accounts from World War II, you start noticing the strange little details, the hacks, the tricks, the improvised gear fixes that never make it into official histories. And honestly, one of the most shocking is how a simple field-made wax blend quietly outperformed half the so-called official equipment. We're talking about a gritty, soldier-to-soldier recipe that transformed standard leather boots into something dangerously close to waterproof armour. No fancy chemicals, no cutting-edge textiles, just old frontier know-how revived in the mud, snow and misery of global war. Let's get straight into the heart of it, because this isn't just a history lesson. This is a practical survival skill with teeth. Understanding why soldiers revived an almost forgotten wax blend. Boot failure was one of the most common and most dangerous equipment problems of the war. The United States service shoe and the British ammo boot were tough, but leather has one ugly defect. It drinks water like it's built for it. Hours of wet marching turned boots into sodden, freezing blocks that weighed more, chafed harder, and robbed heat from already exhausted men. Official water-repellent products existed, but on the front lines they were scarce, low-grade, or already used up. That's when quartermasters, scouts, rangers, and frostbitten infantrymen reach back into pre-war traditions. Mountain men, hunters, trappers, and frontier soldiers. Pulling an old recipe back from the edge of extinction. This wasn't nostalgia. This was survival. Soldiers who used the wax reported fewer cases of trench foot, far less leather rot, and boots that stayed warm instead of freezing into stiff misery each morning. Units in the Ardennes, the Aleutians and Italy all documented the same thing. Properly waxed boots simply outperformed untreated ones. They didn't just maintain their gear, they upgraded it beyond its intended limits. Breaking down the battlefield formula that earned a frontline reputation. The recipe varied from unit to unit, but the core ingredients were almost always the same. Beeswax, animal fat, usually tallow, and pine resin. 3 simple components with 3 distinct jobs. Beeswax, you see, created a flexible shield over the leather. It didn't crack, it didn't flake, and, well, it moved with the boot. Tallow soaked deep into the fibres, keeping the leather supple even in brutal cold. Pine resin was the secret reinforcement, sticky, hydrophobic, and able to bind the mixture into the microscopic pores of the leather. Together, these ingredients formed a barrier that water struggled to penetrate and cold struggled to steal heat through. Soldiers didn't need scientific breakdowns. They saw the results in the field. Boots stayed lighter, warmer, and far less prone to splitting under temperature shifts. So, how did soldiers apply the wax in real field conditions? Well, technique mattered as much as ingredients. Troops learned quickly that cold leather resists absorption, so the first step was almost always warming the boots, near a small fire, under a coat, or even under the armpits if things were desperate. Warm leather opens up. It drinks wax more deeply. The mixture was melted in a tin cup canteen cup, or even the lid of a mess kit. Once it was liquefied, it was brushed, rubbed, or, well, sometimes just smeared on with bare fingers. Using circular motions, soldiers would really push it into the grain of the leather. They kept layering it on until the leather darkened and took on a slightly wet sheen. Then came the crucial step: heat. Rewarming the boots after application helped the mixture sink into the deepest fibres, turning the leather into a sort of semi-sealed hydrophobic shell. If done correctly, water would bead and slide right off instead of soaking in. Soldiers repeated the treatment every few days in harsh conditions, a small ritual that, paid off with fewer blisters, warmer feet, and boots that didn't double in weight every day. Now, how this same wartime technique can still be used today? Well, here's the part that really matters for survivalists, reenactors, and anyone who relies on leather outdoors. This method still works better than many modern commercial waterproofers. The ingredients actually blend with leather at a molecular level, rather than just coating the surface. Beeswax and resin are available just about everywhere, and any animal fat, from butcher scraps to store-bought lard, functions perfectly as tallow. To recreate the mixture, you'll want to warm the three components until they combine into a thick paste. Then let a dab cool. If it's too stiff, you just add a bit more fat. If it's too soft, well, add a touch more wax. Next, warm your boots, heat the wax, and apply it in small circular motions. After that, briefly warm them again to help the mixture set. That's exactly how soldiers did it, Survival hikers use this method for winter treks, and bushcrafters use it before moving through marsh or heavy snow. Hunters use it to cut heat loss, and, well, leather workers swear by it for long-term preservation without suffocating the material. One practical example is prepping for a multi-day winter hike. You treat your boots thoroughly the night before. On day 2, you reapply on the toe box, around the seams, and on the lower sides, the high-wear, high-water exposure zones. Another example is keeping a tiny emergency tin of wax in your pack. If you're forced to cross a river or get slammed by freezing rain, waxing your boots afterward prevents them from becoming rigid blocks and helps preserve heat when you need it most. Why this seemingly small trick mattered for World War II troops. When you strip away the romance of war and look at the day-to-day grind, you realize just how valuable this small hack really was. Troops didn't have backup boots. They didn't have drying rooms. They didn't have breathable membranes or waterproof liners. They had leather, weather, and willpower. A simple blend of wax, fat and resin meant fewer medical evacuations for feet injuries, more mobility in hostile terrain, and a measurable edge in both endurance and morale. In the harshest environments of the war, that mattered. It mattered a lot. If you want more deep-cut wartime ingenuity, the forgotten tricks, the field hacks, the soldier-level innovations that shaped real survival, make sure you subscribe to HistoryHQ and share this with someone who loves the hidden layers of history as much as you do. We've barely scratched the surface, and there's a whole world of battlefield knowledge still waiting to be uncovered.